What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, how you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, excited. Second half is almost here. It is ready. Hot stove is ready to go. So
Ooh, yes,
it's
yes, it
exciting.
is. I feel like we're gonna have quite a bit to talk about in the coming weeks here.
Mhm.
The
Absolutely.
trade deadline is the first, the 31st.
First.
First, that's what I thought. I thought about it in my head. I was like, they didn't move to the end of October or end of August, but no, the first of August. That's going to be an absolute blast. Definitely something we're going to talk about here today. And
Could be
see
the
kind of where
second, actually.
what are you
Could
doing?
be the second, but whatever.
Second? Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You can look it up while I keep talking. That's cool. Um, no, absolute. It's gonna be a lot of fun here. Whether the Angels are doing one or the other. You can't stay in the position that they're at. Correct?
100%. That's literally what we've been saying the whole year is you got to pick one.
Yeah, you either going all in with what you got, or you gotta trade some guys away. And I say that cautiously, because some guys, some fans aren't gonna like that they're trading them away. But yeah, the Angels didn't do themselves any favors with the way they ended the first half of the season. Um, but yeah, let's get to some news here first. Draft news.
August 1st, by the way.
August 1st. Okay, that's what I thought. August 1st, like noon Eastern or Pacific time or something like that. 1 Pacific, yeah. Um, so draft news here. Angels sign their first round pick Nolan Schanuel for slot 5.235, 5.253, something like that. $1 million. I'm again not a fan at slot there. I would not have given him slot. With that being said, this was the Angels' highest, and I was talking to a friend of the show today, Taylor Blake Ward, in conversation about it. I was like, "Is this the most that the Angels have given somebody?" Yes, it is the most the Angels have ever given somebody. Second most, Reed Detmers. Jared Weaver got 4 million, by the way. Just some random thoughts there, but yeah, the most the Angels will ever given any player to sign for, and I don't think this was the guy that I would have given the most to. Just in my opinion, that's just me. I think he's going to be a fine player. You look at it a little bit more and a little bit more, and it's like, well, he's got the bat speed. But the way that I look at things, the way that I would draft, I wouldn't have done that. I know I talked to you about it off. I probably this draft would have gone well under slot, and then in the third round gone well over slot, and still probably gotten very similar guys after that. You still could have got Barrett Kent. You still could have got Joey Wimmer, or John Wimmer. Joey Wimmer? No, John Wimmer. There in the 12th, and you probably still could have gotten the majority of the draft that you did. But you could have gotten two dudes. Nothing against, again, Nolan Schanuel or Rios there out of Stanford. I think he's going to be
Mhm.
a very interesting player. Will be real fun to see what he can bring to the table, especially if he can possibly catch. I don't think a lot of people know that, but there's a possibility of him catching. And Nate, I'm talking a lot about prospects, and we got to talk about the first half here. So I don't know if you got anything you want to say before we get going. Before we get going on that.
No, my opinion on the draft doesn't change, especially with some of these numbers that come out. It just really keeps my grade at the level of where it's at. Like obviously, if he was signed well under, then we start talking about maybe we did get a little bit better. But um, some frustrating news with the prospect rankings coming out today. They were ranked 29. All these things. And I know you don't love some of those rankings, but it's basically where we started with Perry. We started at 29. We're at 29. Like nothing's really changed.
No, you've gotten better at the major league level with these young guys, but again,
Okay.
I don't want to talk about. We're not talking about it, Nate. Nate, we're not talking about it. Okay, we're not
Uh,
talking about it right now.
okay.
Talking about the first half. Let's get on to that. We can talk about prospects all day long. We're gonna get Taylor on the show to talk about this for 45 minutes, I swear. That being said, first half, let's kind of go over it in a sense. Tale of honestly kind of like four or five different, parts. They got hot. They started the season off a little slow. They got hot, slowed down, they got hot, and they got real slow there at the end of the season, at the end of the first half. Right now, they are 45 and 46, 6 games out of the AL West. They are 5 games out of that third playoff spot. behind both Houston and Toronto. They do have to jump the lights teams like the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, and the Seattle Mariners. They're tied with the Twins right now as well.
Slash Guardians.
Oh, they're tied. Oh, yeah, that's fair. No. Guardians have a half game lead on the Central.
Okay.
So not tied.
You're gonna have to jump one of those teams as well.
Yeah. Well, yes, you're gonna have to figure out a way to win more games. I'm worried about the schedule in the second half, but let's talk first half. Nate, how'd you feel about the first half? Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go. How'd you feel about the first half of Angels baseball?
It feels like I've been watching the same first half for 8 years now. They play well for a couple weeks and then they play really bad, and it's like it's really never the same team for the entire year, which is kind of frustrating. You would hope that they look very similar, especially they had pretty good injury luck up until the end of the year, and they've had some guys who have come up and stepped up a little bit, and you're getting the same thing with young guys where it's like, hey, you're getting the ebbs and flows with them. So I would say it's a traditional Angels first half.
I'll say it's a slight disappointment just with the way the schedule was there in June. Is that fair to say? Like, you got pretty hot. We knew they were going to play decently well in June. You look at that schedule, they had a fairly easy schedule. At the end of June, they kind of tailed off. They lost some games they probably shouldn't have lost. I think only ended up winning 14, 15 games there in June. They had a chance to win quite a few more than that in June against some not very good teams. And that's something we talked about early on in the season too, is like they just weren't going out and beating, like they didn't really lose a game for quite a while. They lost that one game in Seattle. But for the most part, at the very beginning of the season when the Angels were going, so, it was like, dude, they're just beating themselves, making mental errors. They're just mentally not there.
And they were beating like the bad teams, and then they were losing to the good teams, and then not playing about 500 against teams that are equal to them.
Yeah. But it was a mental thing. It was something that I preach. I know we preached. It was a very mental thing. It felt like they fell apart. And there were a lot of games they should not have lost early on. Now, later on there, I understand it. You started
the last
playing
2 weeks, they weren't even close.
Yeah, I know they were not playing good baseball. They're hurt. They played some decent teams there. Dodgers are not a bad team. They're a very good team. I think you played Houston down the stretch there a little bit. So they did lose a couple games where it was like the White Sox series there late, which was tough. They should. Yeah, I think they won that series against the White Sox, but they split that series. But 2 games they should have probably won. I think they got blown out, but it was like, how are you guys playing? How are you playing this bad against this team? So, yeah, honestly, kind of the tale of, quite a few different segments of the Angels, first half. And like I said, I personally, like, a slight disappointment, but like not really with the team that they ran out there. We kind of figured they might be around that 500 team. Talent wise, they have a chance, if healthy, they have a chance to be a pretty good team, a playoff contender, at least a wild card contender. And it just didn't feel that way. And baseball is a game of momentum, and hopefully, coming out of the second half, they get some momentum. So let's talk second half here and what the expectations are. I think we're going to be on the same page here, just knowing what we have to say about the Angels. So second half expectations, how you feeling?
I think it's going to be rough. They have a very tough schedule coming up, and they have not pitched well. Tyler Anderson needs to be much, 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 much better for this team. Patrick Sandoval needs to be much, 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 much better. Ohtani's been pretty good on the bump. I know people will get upset with me saying pretty good, but like, honestly, he hasn't been as elite as he was last year, but he's been good.
Which can I say that's like a tip of the cap to Ohtani because of how good he was?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I feel like Detmers has kind of rode the wave, and it's actually been the opposite way the Angels have gone. When the Angels have played well, Detmers hasn't pitched well, and when the Angels have played bad, Detmers has pitched well. So he's gonna need to step up as well. Yeah, it's been interesting with what he's had. It's going to be tough, I think, with the injuries and with the schedule and just the way that these guys have been playing this year. It's going to be a real tough way, and especially you get to the end of July, you're gonna face some tough questions. Is Hunter Renfroe still on the team? Is Shohei Ohtani still on the team? Is Matt Moore still on the team? Is Brandon Drury still on the team? Like, there's so many questionable guys that could get moved, and it could completely change the way you're looking at this thing. You could look at it now and be like, well, yeah, they could finish around 82 and 80, which, maybe the wild card team finishes with 85, 86 wins. So you're kind of technically still in it, but you're not really. But if some of those guys get moved, now you're looking at, you're hoping to win 78 games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we can move on to kind of the buyers and sellers thing as well here, because I'm in agreement with you. I think that it's going to be a very tough second half. And coming out of this All-Star break, luckily the Angels are at home, which is always fun, always a good thing. However, the teams that they have to play it's not fun. And for those that are hoping the Angels are going to buy, you want them to kind of get hot right out of the gate. I'm not saying that they can't, but if they come out hurt and playing like they did, how they ended the the first half by, let's see, losing. Wow, just going back to the Dodgers series, losing to the Dodgers, losing 2 of 3 to Colorado, splitting against the White Sox, losing 2 of 3 against Arizona, getting swept by the Padres, and then getting swept again by the Dodgers heading into the break. If that's the type of baseball they play, come August 1st or anytime before that, you're going to be hearing Ohtani trade talks. You're going to be hearing Renfroe. You're going to be hearing sell more than you hear about the Oakland A's selling. So, you like that joke there? That was good, huh? And it comes down to how hot the Angels can get. So let's go over their schedule here, coming out of the break, because it's not fun. Like I said, it's at home, but it's not fun here. So you go 3 against Houston at home. You go 3 against the Yankees at home. You go 3 against Pittsburgh at home, who sure Pittsburgh has been good in the past, but they're about that same spot as the Angels this year.
Pittsburgh's playing decently well. They're like right where the Angels are. They're young, they're fun. And depending on what pitchers you run into there, if you're running into Mitch Keller and the top half of that rotation, they've been pretty freaking good. Like, yeah, the bottom of the half of the rotation has been tough, but yeah, it's tough.
Not an easy series by any means. Then you go to Detroit, which nice little break there. You hope the Angels can go beat a bad team and a team that might be selling some pieces there. Then you go to Toronto, which is going to be tough. You go to Atlanta, which is tough. You come home, you play Seattle, who went into the break hot. And you never know where they're going to be. You expect them to contend. You play against San Francisco, who's been one of the better teams. You go to Houston. You go to the Rangers, who are 2 playoff teams at the moment. You come back home, you play Tampa, who's one of the better teams and one of the best teams in baseball. You play against Cincinnati, who's one of the best young teams in baseball. Then you go travel back east and play the Mets, which is not a fun team to play unless they sell. That could be a completely different story there. If they're selling, that Mets series is kind of interesting.
And you probably are still going to have some players
tough
there.
Series there still. Yeah. And then you go to Philly. So that's the end of August right there. That August is scary. I'm going to tell you that much right there. That is a scary August, and you hope so. If the Angels are buying, and you're just going to go through August there, because it doesn't get any easier in September. I'll say that you do get to play Oakland a couple more times, but you got to still play Baltimore, Seattle, Cleveland, Tampa again, and the Rangers. So if the Angels are buying, and Nate, we can kind of talk about buying and selling now, because I don't know what they're going to do right now. We have our opinions, but if you want the Angels to buy, you want the Angels to go out and go all in, you need to get healthy. That's a huge piece of it, because you look at August, and even if you buy with the team that they have, that's especially right now with the team they're running out there, you need some guys to get healthy, and you need to buy some pretty good pieces. And I don't think the Angels have quite the pieces in the minor league system to go out there and buy the guys that a lot of impact players, should we say, the Corbin Burns is. You know, I'm trying to think of who else. Marcus
You,
Stroman's an impact guy.
you would need to get like a Jack Flaherty, Paul Goldschmidt deal, and I don't think they have enough for that. And that's kind of
No.
like that would put them in a position to be like, hey, this offense is probably good enough with Ohtani, even if Trout's still out for another, week or two after you make that trade. Like Goldschmidt should be able to help that lineup enough with Trout being out. But like, do you have enough prospects to trade for Goldschmidt and Jack Flaherty? Probably not.
You look at 4
and
to
that's
6
that's
weeks.
what you need. You need offense, and you need offensive help, and you need pitching help, starting pitching help.
You look at 4 to 6 weeks. That's the beginning to middle of August, which is a good time for Mike Trout to come back. But then you also have to think, well, Mike Trout coming back, when is like, how does he get hot? He hasn't been the best player that he's been in the past or anything like that. So it does start worrying you. He's a little bit older. Does
Well,
bat
and
speed slow down?
they'll be cautious with him because he doesn't like playing in Houston. So that would put you right around that Houston series. There's a chance that
Texas,
he's
Stanford.
ready around then, and they say, you know what, just wait till Texas, so we don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So that would be another 3 games that he would miss against a huge series in Houston, and then he has to be ready for the Texas series. So his first plate appearance back could be against Texas, which is not going to be easy. So.
Yep. So Nate, let's finish it off with this before I let everybody go. Last question: are the Angels buyers or sellers here?
They're sellers. I think with the first half, you had like 5 guys that have been. I don't necessarily want to call them surprises because I don't think that's fair to them, but I think there are 5 guys that have played better than expected. And you got, for me at least, I have Drury, I have Estevez, I have Neto because you didn't even know Neto was going to be on the team coming in, Moniak, and then I think Ohtani has played better than expected offensively. He has continued to be good. I threw him in the list. I know people will be like, did he play better than expected? I think so. And then you look at the disappointments. It's Tyler Anderson, 100%. Luis Rengifo, Patrick Sandoval,
Just say
Jared Walsh.
Just say the starting pitching in general has been the disappointment because Ohtani hasn't been that Cy Young candidate. Sandoval hasn't been great. We talked about beginning of the season. We talked about Patrick Sandoval possibly being a Cy Young candidate in the AL, especially in an AL that doesn't have that quality of pitching that the NL has. Reed Detmers up until 6 starts ago was a disappointment. I mean, you can say I think
I'm not going to put Detmers in the disappointment because he's kind of been like what you expect, but yeah, you could throw Suarez in there, you could throw Walsh in there, you could throw Ward in there. Like there's about 7 disappointments, and those are guys that we were expecting big things out of. Like Ward was expected to be a main part of this offense.
Yep.
Walsh was expected to come back and be a person, I guess. Or like he was supposed to come back.
If you talk to us about it, it was very cautiously optimistic. If you talk to anybody else, Walsh was supposed to come back and be an all-star again. So
and even in our place, like if he came back, there's no way you're saying he's throwing up a 20 WRC plus. Like
no, you expect him to be better, like a 70.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why he's in the disappointments for me.
That's fair.
Rengifo, like we said it all last year. It's like, well, he can't play defense, and how do we know that he's actually going to perform given opportunity? And we've seen it, and it hasn't been there. I'm just going to mark it right now. I was right on the Ryan Tepera. I was right on Aaron Loup. And right now, I called that last year, by the way, that I was right. And I'm right on Tyler Anderson right now on July 13th, which really early in the 3-year contract, but I'm calling it right now. I was correct on the Tyler Anderson signing. And then, you have Suarez, who I'm going to continue to say I'm right on that one as well. So there are a lot of disappointments that those disappointments need to be better if this Angel team even thinks about buying. But I think they're going to sell Renfroe. I'm like 98% sure Renfroe's gone. If Matt Moore can get healthy enough to get traded, he's gone. You might even like sneaky guy to get traded. Possible like Griffin Canning. I don't think the Angels would sell Patrick Sandoval because it's at a low right now. But like last year, you had Brandon Marsh, who you mentioned is a possible sell piece out of nowhere, and he gets traded. Like Griffin Canning could be that guy just because of he's very close to free agency. I think he's got a year left. His contract will get a little bit more expensive just because he actually pitched this year. That was the reason why his number was so low, is because he hasn't pitched in 2 years. So sneaky guy to get traded, Canning. And then obviously you have Estevez and Drury, Ohtani, who you're going to be listing on, and you're just going to have to be blown away.
That's fair. That's fair. So I'm gonna say this again. It comes down to that homestand. That is a huge homestand for if you're buying or selling, right? If the Angels, how many games is that homestand? What do you got? 3,
9,
three,
or is
9,
it 10?
9, 10. Let's call it an even 10 because I want to say it's 9, but well, what is it? Are you looking it up right now? Because I'm gonna give a what if scenario there.
9.
9 games.
Mhm.
If the Angels win,
7.
I was gonna say 6. Can I say
6,
6
okay.
and a half? Because that puts it like
6.
6.
Yeah, 6 is fair.
I think they can win 6 though. If the Angels win 6 games in that homestand, they're buyers. Is that fair?
Yeah. Can I make a bold prediction?
They win 5.
No. Shohei Ohtani does not play against the Yankees as an Angel.
Oh, you already think he's getting traded?
I think that's
Wow.
I think you get
Save it for
swept by
another
Houston.
podcast. Save it for another podcast.
I
Let me
think you
finish
get
up.
swept by Houston, and
Ooh.
that's when it happens. But that's my bold prediction. Shohei Ohtani does not play against the Yankees.
Let's save it for another podcast. All right, with you're gonna piss some people off. I say if the Angels win 6 games, dude, I piss people off all the time. If the Angels win 6 games, they're buyers. If that's a weird thing to say. I say 7 games. You got to win 7 games to be buyers. I think if they win 6 games, they're holding pat. And I know it's like a game difference, but it's really weird. Like, is it? I know that's weird, right? Like you can't. I don't think you go and buy. I think you say like, oh, Trout's going to be healthy. This guy's going to be healthy. So we're going to hold pat. But I think if the Angels lose 6 games or something like that, like they're 3 and 6, then you really start hearing the pressure and start feeling it. I think Artie starts feeling it too. Angels have never been in this scenario before where they have somebody like this. I mean, I don't think a lot of teams have really been in this scenario. I mean, I guess you can say the Red Sox when they sold Mookie. Angels locked up Trout. There's maybe been some guys that you talk about, but Mookie would probably be the closest one that you can really talk about. Juan Soto too.
Harper.
Who?
Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper is another good one.
Manny Machado, but I wouldn't say he's on that same level.
We're gonna get some hate about comparing Shohei Ohtani.
Well, and I'm not even comparing it. It's just like a perennial all-star for
a very good player. A very good player.
For half a year left.
Yeah. So wow. I mean, you talked about Machado. That's an interesting package that you put together there to get Machado. The Dodgers did. So with that being said, I gave it there. I'm not going to give a full answer. If I had to, I think the Angels are selling. I really do. But it's kind of scary to think that the Angels might buy, especially with looking into August, looking into the future. It's kind of scary to think that the Angels might buy. So would love to know everybody else's thoughts here on this podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube here, drop it in the comments down below. Guys, as always, you can follow all of us on social media, all of us as in me and Nate, but you can follow all our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look us up, Talking Halos. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms, Nate at NateGreen34. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.